I was a dedicated software engineer who gave my all to my relationship with Jessica. For 3 years, I believed we were building something special, a partnership heading toward marriage and a lifetime together. Then came that fateful afternoon when she forgot to hang up her phone after our routine check-in call. What I overheard in those few minutes changed everything I thought I knew about us. Her flirtatious words with another man cut deeper than any knife could. I made my decision instantly and never looked back. Before I tell you how I discovered the truth and what happened next, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from and hit subscribe if you have ever had to make a tough decision to stand up for yourself. I still remember the night I met Jessica, as if it were yesterday. My college buddy Thomas was hosting a housewarming party for his new apartment in downtown Chicago. I almost skipped it buried in code for a work project, but Thomas insisted I needed to reconnect with actual humans. Reluctantly, I showed up with a bottle of wine and zero expectations. She was standing by the window, engaged in what looked like an intense debate about artificial intelligence with Thomas's roommate. Her dark hair was pulled back in a casual ponytail, her hands animated as she made her points. When she laughed, the entire room seemed brighter. I found myself gravitating toward their conversation, drawn not just by her beauty but by her sharp intelligence and confidence. "You must be Larry," she said when Thomas introduced us. "The coding genius I have heard so much about." We talked until everyone else had left. Our first date was coffee the next morning, both of us operating on no sleep and pure interest in each other. Jessica worked in marketing for TechSphere, ironically, a competitor to my own company, StartPoint Software. We joked about corporate espionage on that first date, never imagining how prophetic that joke would become. Our relationship blossomed quickly. Weekends were spent hiking the trails around Lake Michigan, discussing everything from quantum computing to philosophy. We challenged each other intellectually and supported each other emotionally. When Jessica received a promotion to marketing executive 6 months in, I surprised her with champagne and cooked her favorite meal. When my team landed a major client, she was the first person I called. After 18 months together, we decided to move in. We found a 2-bedroom apartment with a view of the city, turning the second bedroom into a shared office space. Building a home together felt natural, exciting. I installed smart home features throughout the apartment while Jessica handled the interior design. Our friends called us the power couple of our social group, a label that secretly pleased me. There were moments I should have recognized as warning signs. About 6 months after moving in together, Jessica became increasingly protective of her phone. She would take calls in another room, her voice lowering when I walked by. Text notifications would prompt her to quickly flip her phone over. When I asked about these changes, she laughed it off. Just work stress clients can be demanding. Then came the work events that ran later and later. Jessica would return home at 11 or 12 at night, slightly disheveled, smelling of wine and wearing makeup that had been refreshed. Several times she canceled our weekend plans last minute because of emergency client meetings that somehow could not wait until Monday. I trusted her completely. That was my first mistake. As our 3rd anniversary approached, I planned a surprise weekend at a luxury cabin in Wisconsin. I had saved for months, even picking out a vintage emerald ring that reminded me of her eyes. Marriage felt like the natural next step. We had discussed children, retirement dreams, even which countries we wanted to visit when we were old and gray. I imagined proposing on the cabin's deck overlooking the lake at sunset. In the weeks leading up to the anniversary weekend, Jessica grew increasingly distant. She worked later, checked her phone more frequently, and seemed distracted during our conversations. I attributed it to work pressure and focused on finalizing our weekend plans. I even contacted her assistant Maria to ensure her schedule was clear, swearing her to secrecy about the surprise. "She will love it," Maria assured me, though something in her tone seemed off. "Jessica deserves someone thoughtful like you." Looking back, I wonder if Maria knew what was happening. If everyone knew except me. The day that changed everything started normally enough. It was a Wednesday, and I was working from home while Jessica had meetings at her office. We shared breakfast, though Jessica was buried in her phone, occasionally smiling at something on the screen. "Important client?" I asked, sliding a plate of scrambled eggs in front of her. "Just Maria sending me the agenda for today," she replied quickly, locking her screen. "Thanks for breakfast. I have got to run big presentation this morning." She kissed me quickly on the cheek and hurried out, leaving her coffee mostly untouched. I cleaned up the kitchen and settled into my workday debugging code for our newest application. Jessica and I had a routine of calling each other during lunch when we were working separately, just to check in and break up the day. At 12:30, right on schedule, my phone rang with her familiar ringtone. "Hey there," I answered, leaning back in my office chair. "Hi, Larry." Jessica sounded slightly harried. "Just checking in. How is your morning going?" We chatted briefly about my debugging progress and her presentation, which she said had gone well. The conversation was pleasant, but felt perfunctory, lacking our usual banter. "Someone just came into my office. I should go," she said suddenly. "Talk tonight." "Sure thing. Love you," I replied. "Bye," she said quickly, without returning the sentiment. I was about to set my phone down when I realized the call hadn't ended. I could hear rustling on the other end then, Jessica's voice again, but with a completely different tone. Gone was the slightly distracted professional demeanor. Now her voice was lower, playful, intimate, in a way that made my stomach drop. "Michael, I was hoping you would stop by," she practically purred. "Couldn't stay away," a male voice responded. "Especially after last night." I sat frozen, phone clutched in my hand as their conversation continued, unaware that I could hear every word. "Last night was incredible," Jessica said, her voice containing a warmth I hadn't heard in months. "Though I nearly gave us away this morning. Larry made breakfast and caught me smiling at your text." "What did you tell him?" Michael asked, his tone amused. "That it was work stuff from Maria. He never questions anything, just accepts whatever I say. It is almost too easy." Their laughter felt like ice water in my veins. I should have hung up, but I could not move, could not look away from this car crash of my relationship. "So boring," Jessica continued. "Always the same routine, the same conversations. He has no idea how much I look forward to our little escapes." Speaking of which, Michael's voice dropped lower. "Are we still on for tonight? I booked that hotel you liked, the one with the amazing shower." "Absolutely. I will tell Larry I have a client dinner. He will be disappointed but never suspicious." That is the problem with dating someone who trusts you completely. They never look beneath the surface. "What about your anniversary this weekend?" He mentioned something to Maria about a surprise trip. My heart stopped. This stranger knew about my surprise plans. Oh, that Jessica dismissed it with an audible wave in her voice. "Something I can easily get out of. Family emergency, work crisis, whatever works. Larry will understand. He always does." They continued planning their special night, casually referencing previous meetups, inside jokes, and plans for the future. Each word was another nail in the coffin of our relationship. I felt physically ill, my hand shaking as I held the phone. Then came the sound of movement, a drawer opening. "I got you something," Jessica said. "A key to my place. For when you want to surprise me. Just make sure to use it when you know Larry is at work." "Very thoughtful," Michael replied, followed by what sounded like a kiss. "Now I can visit any time. Just not when my boring boyfriend is home," Jessica laughed. There was a sudden pause then. Jessica's voice again, but panicked this time. "Oh my God. The call, it never ended. My phone is still." "Oh God," she stammered. Then the line went dead. I sat in complete silence for several minutes, trying to process what I had just heard. The woman I loved, who I was planning to propose to, had been cheating on me. Not just a one-time mistake, but an ongoing affair with established patterns and inside jokes at my expense. They laughed about my trust. She called me boring. My phone immediately began buzzing with texts. "Larry, are you there? Did you hear any of that? It is not what you think. Please call me back. We need to talk about this." Larry, please respond. I set the phone down without replying and tried to think clearly through the fog of betrayal. 3 years of my life, countless memories, all built on a foundation of lies. I felt sick, but underneath the nausea was something else. Anger, and with it clarity. I would not beg for explanations. I would not listen to excuses or pleas for second chances. I deserved better than someone who laughed about me behind my back, who found me boring, who planned to use the anniversary surprise I had worked so hard on as an opportunity to be with someone else. I stood up suddenly, certain of what I needed to do next. For the next 3 hours, I moved with methodical purpose. First, I went through our shared cloud account, finding hotel receipts for dates when Jessica claimed to be at conferences, photos she had not intended me to see, and evidence of concert tickets and restaurant reservations for 2 on nights. She told me she was working late. I checked our phone records, finding a pattern of calls to the same number, often late at night or early morning when she thought I was sleeping. Text message counts to this number outnumbered any others by the thousands. While gathering her belongings from our closet, I found a small jewelry box hidden in her winter boots, containing a watch I had never seen before. Clearly a gift for Michael. In her desk drawer was a spare key, newly cut, undoubtedly the one she had just given him. I packed her clothes, personal items, and mementos into boxes, working quickly and efficiently. I contacted our landlord, explaining that I would be taking sole responsibility for the lease moving forward. I changed passwords on our shared streaming accounts, removed her authorized user status from my credit card, and transferred my portion of our joint savings to my individual account. Throughout it all, my phone continued to buzz with increasingly frantic messages from Jessica. I ignored them all. This was no longer a conversation, it was an evacuation. At 4:15, much earlier than she typically returned home, I heard her key in the lock. I was sitting calmly in our living room, surrounded by packed boxes of her belongings. "Larry," she gasped. When she saw me, her face pale with panic. "Thank God you are home. I have been trying to reach you all day." I heard everything I said, simply my voice steadier than I expected. It was not what it sounded like. She began setting down her purse and taking a tentative step toward me. "Michael is just a colleague, we were joking around." "Stop," I cut her off. "I heard everything, Jessica. The hotel plans for tonight, the key you gave him, how boring I am, and how easy it is to lie to me because I trust you so completely. You are taking things out of context," she insisted, her eyes filling with tears that looked rehearsed. "It was just stupid office banter that went too far. There is nothing actually happening between us. The hotel receipts in our cloud account suggest otherwise, as do the late-night calls, the mysterious weekend disappearances, and the fact that you were planning to bail on our anniversary to be with him." Her expression shifted, realizing that I had done my homework, that denial would not work. "Look, I made a mistake." She pivoted, her voice softening. "We have been growing apart, Larry. You are always working, always distracted with your projects." I felt neglected. Michael paid attention to me. "That is interesting," I replied, "because I have the entire past year documented with date nights I planned, surprises I arranged, and vacations I organized, all while working the same hours I always have. The neglect was a fiction you created to justify your choices." "We can work through this," she tried again, moving closer. "Everyone makes mistakes. 3 years together has to be worth fighting for." It was worth fighting for. I corrected her. "It was worth honesty and respect, neither of which you provided. I have packed your things. You need to leave." "You cannot be serious," she said, looking at the boxes in disbelief. "This is my home too." I stood up and walked to the desk where I had placed the spare key I found in her drawer. "Is this the only copy you gave him, or should I change the locks?" I asked, holding it up. Her face crumpled, knowing she was caught without room for deniability. "Larry, please," she whispered, reaching for my hand. "I love you. What you heard today, it was just. I do not know what it was, but it is not the real me. The real me loves you. The real you laughed at me behind my back, I said, pulling my hand away. The real you called me boring and predictable while planning hotel rendezvous with another man. The real you was going to use my anniversary surprise as an opportunity to be with him instead. I made a terrible mistake, she said, tears now flowing freely. I will do anything to fix this. Couples therapy, complete transparency, whatever you need. What I need is for you to leave, I replied. I deserve better than someone who uses my trust as a weapon against me. Something in my tone must have convinced her that I would not budge. Her demeanor transformed instantly, tears drying up as if they had never existed. Fine, she snapped, suddenly cold. You want to throw away 3 years over one mistake. Go ahead, but do not think you will find anyone better than me. Good luck finding someone who puts up with your obsessive work habits and social awkwardness. I would rather be alone than with someone who thinks so little of me. I replied calmly. You need to be gone by tonight. Anything you leave behind will be donated. You will regret this, she hissed, grabbing her purse. When you are lonely and miserable, remember that you chose this. No, Jessica. I corrected her. You chose this the moment you decided to cheat. I am just finalizing your choice. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell from the wall. It was a photo of us on vacation in California, both smiling at the camera. The glass cracked diagonally between our figures, a fitting metaphor. She returned 2 hours later with 2 friends to collect her boxes, avoiding eye contact with me. I stayed in the bedroom until they left, not wanting to create additional drama. When I emerged, our apartment felt emptier, but somehow lighter, as if a persistent cloud had finally lifted. That night alone in what was now just my apartment, I canceled the cabin reservation and returned the emerald ring. It was painful, but each action was a step toward reclaiming my life from deception. The weeks following Jessica's departure were a strange mix of grief and relief. I grieved not for the relationship I had lost, but for the one I thought. I had the one that existed only in my imagination. The relief came from no longer living a lie, from not having to wonder about late-night texts or unexplained absences. Jessica made several attempts to reconnect. Late-night messages when she had been drinking, showing up at my office building coincidentally at lunchtime, even sending mutual friends to plead her case. I maintained strict no contact, blocking her on all platforms and making it clear to friends that I would not discuss reconciliation. She seems really sorry, man, my friend Thomas said one night over beers, clearly uncomfortable with his assigned role as messenger. Says it was a one-time mistake. The phone call I overheard made it clear this had been going on for months, I replied. And even if it was just once, she was laughing at me behind my back, Thomas, calling me boring, planning to skip our anniversary to be with him. How do you come back from that level of disrespect? Thomas had no answer, and the subject was dropped. I found a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma, Dr. Winters, who helped me understand that Jessica's actions reflected her character flaws, not my worthiness as a partner. You mentioned several times that you should have seen the signs, Dr. Winters noted during one session. But trusting your partner is not a character flaw, Larry. It is the foundation of healthy relationships. She exploited that trust, which says everything about her values and nothing about yours. Those words became a mantra during difficult moments, particularly after the embarrassing incident at Lombardi's, my favorite Italian restaurant. I had gone there for dinner alone, bringing work to keep me company, when I looked up to see Jessica and Michael being seated across the room. She spotted me immediately, her face registering shock, then what appeared to be triumph, as if my solo dinner validated her belief that I would be lonely without her. I paid my bill, calmly nodded, politely in their direction, and left with my dignity intact. Once home, I allowed myself 10 minutes of intense emotion, then returned to the coding project I had been working on at dinner. Small victories. Through mutual friends, I learned that Jessica and Michael's relationship deteriorated within months. The excitement of forbidden romance could not sustain the reality of day-to-day compatibility. Apparently, she caught him texting with another woman, experiencing firsthand the pain of betrayal she had so casually inflicted on me. 6 months after our breakup, my company offered me an opportunity to transfer to our Seattle office for a promotion. I accepted immediately, seeing it as a chance for a complete fresh start in a city where memories of Jessica did not lurk around every corner. Seattle brought unexpected renewal. The magnificent landscape of the Pacific Northwest became my therapy, with weekend hikes replacing brooding sessions. I reconnected with programming as a passion rather than just a career, contributing to open-source projects and mentoring junior developers. I strengthened bonds with my family through weekly video calls, something I had neglected during my relationship with Jessica. At a regional tech conference that fall, I met Alyssa, a brilliant software developer specializing in AI ethics. Our conversation about responsible technology implementation continued long after the panel discussion ended, migrating to a nearby coffee shop and extending into dinner. Unlike the immediate attraction I had felt with Jessica, my connection with Alyssa built slowly based on mutual respect and shared values. When I finally told her about my experience with Jessica, months into our friendship, Alyssa listened without judgment. "Thank you for trusting me with that," she said simply. "Betrayal like that changes how you see relationships." "It does," I agreed. "I am much more attentive to actions matching words now." "That seems like a healthy adaptation, not a scar," she observed. "Some lessons are painful, but necessary." Our friendship gradually evolved into something more, but with a foundation of honesty that made the relationship entirely different from what I had with Jessica. Alyssa and I established clear boundaries and communication patterns from the beginning, each respecting the other's independence while choosing to build something meaningful together. 1 year after that devastating phone call, I realized that what had felt like the worst moment of my life had actually been a painful but necessary awakening. Had Jessica hung up properly that day, I might still be living in blissful ignorance, possibly even married to someone who did not truly value me. The betrayal, as painful as it was, freed me from a future built on deception. I learned that self-respect requires action, not just sentiment. Walking away from Jessica was the hardest decision I had ever made, but also the most important. I discovered that immediate, decisive action, while intensely painful in the moment, saved me from years of additional deception and disrespect. Most importantly, I learned that trusting someone is never a mistake, but staying with someone who has proven unworthy of that trust certainly is. True connections are built on consistent honesty, not convenient lies or comfortable illusions. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to protect your self-respect? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more authentic life experiences. Consider sharing this with someone who might need to hear that standing up for yourself is not just acceptable, but necessary sometimes. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember that you deserve relationships where your trust is honored, not exploited. Your self-respect is too valuable to compromise, even for someone you love.